Hello everyone, welcome to episode 6 of this awesome Osu adventure series. So in the last episode we covered collections and different ways to organize your song list, and in this episode I want to talk about tapping styles. So single tapping, alternating, things like that, but more specifically I want to talk about the different types of alternating because it's something that I've seen discussed a little bit in the community, but I definitely think it could use a bit more public awareness. So yeah, I will try to demonstrate them as best I can. So to follow along with this little explanation, you can watch this key overlay in the bottom right corner. So first type of tapping style is called single tapping. I think most people probably know what this is, but basically it's just using one key to tap most patterns. So you use one key for everything except really fast stuff. So triples, bursts, streams, things like that. Let's say you're single tapping and then there's a triple that comes up, then you obviously use your other finger. So that is still called single tapping. And also you can use your other finger as well. Doesn't really matter what finger you use. So to describe your play style in this sense, you would say, I single tap with my index finger, or I single tap with my middle or ring finger, or whatever other finger you use. So that is single tapping. So alternating, two main types of alternating. So I will describe them separately, and then I will try to also explain when each style of alternating is more useful, sort of in a general sense. So first type of alternating is what I call tap alting. So it is a very similar motion to single tapping, but instead you use both of your fingers in alternation. So you can see there's a bit of a timing gap between each key press when I, between letting go of one finger and release and starting the other one. So it's a very similar timing gap to when I single tap, but you notice it's almost as if I took half of the key presses and shifted them over to my other finger. But it's a very similar motion of your fingers. I think it is the most deliberate way of tapping. I think if you think of it as tapping deliberately with each finger, I think that's a very clear way to understand it. So it's sort of like a jackhammery motion, except hopefully you're not actually jackhammering your keyboard. try not to break your keyboard. But yeah, that is what I call tap alternating. And then the other kind is what I call stream alternating, or stream alting. So this is more of a fluid, continuous motion. You can see there's less of a timing gap between each key press as opposed to tap alting, where there's a lot more of a gap there. So stream alting is, I think, more useful for, conserving stamina for one, but also when the pattern is a lot more flowy or attached to itself, such as streams, obviously. I think that is when stream alting, I think, really comes into play. And then tap alting is, I think, a lot more useful for aim control and more deliberate actions. So if you're trying to really focus on each individual key press or object, then you would use tap alting. Disadvantage, obviously, if you couldn't already tell, I think tap alting takes up a bit more stamina. It's a lot harder to be fast with tap alting. But yeah, that is that. So tap alting and stream alting. But I want to mention that there's actually sort of a third style of alternating that is sort of between the two. So it is, for lack of better term, what I would call tap stream alting. So this is tap alting, right? And then this is stream alting. And so tap stream alting is basically, okay, it's very hard to describe, but I will do my best. So basically, it's sort of a continuous motion. So you don't have the gaps in timing like you do with tap alting, but your taps are still deliberate. So, and another key characteristic is, I think, when you tap it with tap stream alting, your taps end up being a bit louder on your keyboard. You end up pressing your keyboard a bit louder. Not necessarily because you're trying to, but it is sort of what ends up happening when you're tapping in this way. So I think when you tap in this way, I think it lets you save stamina a little bit while still tapping very quickly. But it still allows you to be a bit more deliberate with your aim and things like that. So yeah, that is a basic rundown of the three different types of alternating. If you want to see some sample gameplay of these types of alternating in work, I will link some videos in the description. So I think some really good, or like players that are very, very good at using the different types of alternating, I would say FlyingTuna, for one, is really good, especially at tap stream alting. I think he's really, really good at that, and he uses that to his advantage for like really, really crazy hard aim control maps. So I will link some sample gameplay of his in the description. And also Cookie Z is, I think, very good at the different types of alternating as well. So I will link some of their gameplay, live play videos in the description. You can watch their hand cam and get a better sense of what exactly all these tapping styles are. But yeah, with that out of the way, I want to tell a bit of a story while playing a couple maps, show you guys a couple cool maps that I like, and also tell a bit of a story on my personal history with my own tapping styles. So yeah, let's get started. Hopefully I will not embarrass myself while playing and talking at the same time, but yeah, let's go. So personally, oh god, I'm gonna have to get adjusted to this map. Anyway, so when I started playing this game, I like only single tap. And so I single tap with my index finger. And I just, okay, so I think like, okay, the story's gonna be a bit scatterbrained, but just bear with me. So I think alternating, so by definition, I would say alternating, like being able to alternate means that you're able to start and stop any pattern with either finger. So if there's a triple, then you could start it with your key 1 or key 2, basically, index finger or middle finger. Or you could also start that pattern with, wait, what am I trying to say? Yeah, so, what? Okay, so, starting or stopping patterns with either finger, right, so, you, oh my god, I cannot think and play at the same time. Okay, let me start over, so yeah, alternating, by definition, you, oh my god, wait, I need to lower the volume. Okay, wait, okay, let me start telling the story and then probably play again. Okay, so alternating, I think by definition, is being able to start and stop any pattern with either finger. So a triple, for example, you could start it with your index or with your middle, for example, and you could play it either way comfortably. So that is that. So I think if you're trying to get better at alternating as someone who is a single tap player, then I would recommend practicing starting patterns with your other finger. And that is something that, if you're really interested, I go more in depth. Oh crap, I slide broke. I go more in depth on alternating and finger control in my video called OCPHD. So if you're really into the nitty gritty, I will link that in the description as well. But yeah, okay, so for me personally, when I started playing this game, I single tap with my index finger. So any pattern, any bursts, or anything like that, I was pretty much only comfortable starting with my index finger. And it would especially cause issues when, let's say there's like a slider into a stream, for example. So I'm holding down that stream, or the slider, with my index finger, and then I have to use my other finger to start the stream. Okay, let's say the slider is like a buzz slider, for example. It's like those really, really fast repeat sliders. So if I'm holding that, slider with my index finger, I can't just start the stream with my middle finger, because like it would throw me off when I started any pattern with my other finger. And I was like, oh my god. So really being able to full alternate is for some people it comes naturally to them. Some people are like, oh, it doesn't make sense to like not like switch between all your fingers. Like, you know, you're given 2 keys to tap with for a reason, like things like that. If you naturally are able to tap with both fingers, or like start patterns with either finger comfortably, then I don't know, good on you, but I really needed to practice personally to be able to do that. But yeah, let's see. So what really worked for me the best was starting or practicing single tapping with my middle finger, because as someone who would only ever start patterns with my index, I was much more comfortable starting patterns with my index finger. So when I was full alternating, I would much rather end up starting everything with my index. But obviously, to be really, really good at finger control, you have to be able to do both. So over time, what I would do is just play some really simple maps and focus only on basically switching the roles of my fingers. So I would try to single tap, I would try to single tap everything with my middle finger instead of index, and start triples and bursts and things like that with my middle finger as well. Sorry, and yeah, over time I became more comfortable with it, but it took so long, and I think especially when I first started doing that, my brain just completely melted. So I don't know, a bit of a warning, or maybe not warning, but reassurance to those of you who are in a similar boat to where I was. If you are someone who only single taps and is someone who's only comfortable starting patterns with one finger, and you're trying to learn how to alternate, what I would say is learn to single tap and start everything with your other finger, and then eventually you will, I don't know, basically have like similar level of comfort in both your fingers. And yeah, rest assured that I think when you start practicing that, it's gonna feel like you have no brain, because well, that is how I felt first of all, but also usually when I recommend this to people, well, they come to me later and say that it helps for them as well, which is good, but especially when they first start, they're like, man, my brain, and I'm like, yeah, same. So yeah, keep that in mind. But especially I think for playing really fast patterns, I would say alternating helps a lot, because you can effectively like cut the amount of, or the speed that you have to tap in half, kind of. Like when you're single tapping versus alternating, it's like half the speed almost. But it's, I don't know, especially considering the different types of alternating, like tap alting, for example. Yeah, definitely. I think tap alternating does take a very similar amount of stamina to single tapping. Single tapping, I think, definitely would take the most amount of stamina, but yeah, just keep that in mind. I think especially if you want to push higher BPM limits, then alternating is something that can definitely help you. I think the fastest players in the game all know how to alternate, so yeah. See, I wanted to play Nekomata Master, a couple other songs that I like that I wanted to show you guys. So yeah, and as usual, all of these songs that I'm playing will be linked in the description as well, but yeah, let's see, I want to play this one. Okay, so yeah, I know, oh man, okay, I don't know if it's loud for you guys, but it feels a little loud for me, trying to think about my story and talk at the same time. But yeah, anyway, I think people say that, like, I don't know, I think the best way to understand it is, you can get very far in this game, like, only single tapping. Like, there's some top players that just only single tap, right? And there's nothing wrong with that, because like at the end of the day, if you're really good at single tapping, then you don't need to be able to alternate at all, right? But I think there's some patterns that will probably trip you up as a single tap player, like even if you're very good at single tapping. But I would say if you're very good at alternating, like there's no pattern like that in the game. I don't know, like you might run into some issues if you only ever single tap and you don't know how to alternate, but I think you'll never run into issues if you know how to alternate, so keep that in mind. But I think, okay, I guess some other miscellaneous things is if you are trying to push your like raw tapping speed mechanics, then I would say single tapping could be a pretty good way to do that, because obviously it challenges your raw tapping speed a bit more. So you could practice like single tapping with your index really quickly, and then single tapping with your middle finger really quickly as well. And then you sort of put the two together when you actually alternate. And that can especially help for tap alting or tap stream alting. I think that's actually something that FlyingTuna recommends. He has a video about like how to get better stamina, and he just has like this command prompt program that you just tap like 500 times as fast as you can, something like that. I'll link his video in the description as well. I think it's very interesting. But yeah, there's a lot of intricacy when it comes to single tapping versus alternating, and there's a bit of a divide, I guess, between some players, between people who alternate are like not really playing the same game, or like it's not really fair because they're cutting the BPM in half, especially for fast songs. So there's definitely people who give those sorts of arguments. Well, let's play this map. Another good song. Nekomata Master is probably one of the best song artists that you can find on Osu, in my opinion. Yeah, I'll play one more map and then probably wrap things up. I don't want this episode to be too long, but yeah, there's definitely a sort of divide between players in that sense, but I think both single tapping and alternating have their advantages in certain situations. Personally, I've practiced being able to tap both single tapping and alternating, and I don't know, I think just understanding like the benefits of each tapping style is very good because it will, I don't know, help you have a more open mind when it comes to like using either kind of tapping. But yeah, definitely, I think personally, I still sort of like lean towards starting patterns with my index finger, which if you watch most of my gameplay, you should probably be able to notice that as well. I don't know, might be a bit tricky, but basically, like by the end of most maps, my key input overlay has like usually 2/3 of the taps are on my index finger, and then 1/3 is on my middle finger. So I definitely lean towards starting patterns with my index, but being able to do both, I think has, oh, what's that pattern? Has lots of benefits. So yeah, if there's anything that you take out of all this rambling, I would say be open-minded, be able to tap in anyway, and you will not run into issues. From personal experience, that's what I would say. So, but yeah, hopefully my explanation of, at least my explanation of the different types of alternating was clear, because I think it's a pretty important concept to understand. Like I said, not many people really talk about that, so... Oh, shoot, that was fast. So, yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode. Hopefully I don't miss while I'm doing my outro, but yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed, and if you're watching in the future, I would say check out my channel, watch the future episodes that I've uploaded, but yeah, with that, see you guys next time. Oh, wait, I sounded broke. What? Frick. Okay, yeah, see you guys next time. Bye.